The album is supposed to be entertainment. I mean, if you want to have a political message, there's a lot better ways to do it than hide it in a horror story.
Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Belgian Jasper. If this is your first time at the channel, hit subscribe right now. Okay, Jensen, thank you so much for your time today. Nightside is almost here when we're talking. I'm gonna call this the third album of the new era of Witchery. And third albums are always super important, and especially this one, and it kills. I think you're very excited to release this album.
Very much so. Not only because of this lineup, but also it's after the pandemic and everything. So yeah, it's like a fresh start almost.
Now, just to address one of the elephants in the room real quick, for the longest time, although there have been different lineups and different singers, the core of Witchery has been pretty stable with yourself, with Rickard, and with Charlie. Charlie is now no longer with the band. Is it as simple as Arch Enemy is too demanding of a schedule, or is there something else?
No, it is that simple. And Charlie remains my best friend still to this day. It was very undramatic, because Victor, who is now our bass player, he actually did the first show already 2010.
Yeah.
So he's been stepping in for 12 years now. So it finally got to the point where Charlie said, because he also knows Victor, of course, it's kind of a small metal community here.
Yeah.
And he said, it's time to give Victor his props and take him in the band and everything. Because Arch Enemy is, I think, one of the hardest working bands, year after year. They always tour and always record. So, whatever success they have, they deserve it. And, Victor has always been there for us. So it was something that just had to be done. It was a formality.
Witchery is one of those bands that I'm sure you as an artist, you must have a little bit of fun seeing everybody trying to define Witchery. People come up, especially now with this new album, they might even add some doom labels to it, but they'll come up with blackened, speed, roof thrash or something like that. Should we just call it metal or even just rock and roll?
I think that is actually one of the things I enjoy the most when people try to label us. We've had so many, we're blackened thrash, we're thrash with black metal or heavy metal, or and that is one of the things with Witchery that we've always had a good time. We're great friends, all of us, and we just like to hang out and play metal. So whatever comes up, during a rehearsal, if it sounds good, if it's jamming, we'll add it to a song. And so maybe doom metal. I haven't heard that one before, but why not?
If they listen, exactly, and if they listen to the new album when it comes out, to certain songs, they might use that label a little bit.
Or maybe a prog band now that is a concept album.
There you go. Very colorful cover art as well, right? So it's kind of funny for me, as a fan and looking from the outside in, Witchery for now over 25 years have, what you're saying is like, you kind of just did your own thing, and that was always quite varied. And I find that over the years, people have labeled Witchery as a band in a genre that is just a little bit more popular at the time. And then a few years later, the band gets labeled as something slightly different, where Witchery hasn't necessarily changed, but whatever is popular out there. Do you see that as well?
Yeah, you might be right actually, because what is popular is what is in recent memory or in people's minds. So that's what they, how that thing where you influence people to, you see a commercial or something and then you don't even notice it, but it's in your head.
Yeah.
It's kind of, they grab the first thing they can think of, or maybe they instinctively think that a band is trying to be popular, so
Yeah.
bandwagon thing. But we've always done our own thing. I mean, when we started out, also with the Haunted, thrash was not, it was over.
Yeah, for sure.
But then all of a sudden, first Haunted album, The Gathering, Testaments, The Gathering came out, and all of a sudden it just started to happen again. And then all the old thrash bands kind of came back, and there was like a second wave, and they've kept themselves up there. So yeah, I don't know. We're just having fun, and I think that's what people notice and enjoy. Actually, it's not forced. It's just what's it called? Labor of love? Do you say that?
Labor of love. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, a very romantic way of describing Witchery, maybe, but still. Quick side question, actually, now that you mentioned that, because you're absolutely right. That's like that new wave of thrash, and then kind of with the Thrash of the Titans festival, all these, Bay Area bands reunited in the late 90s, early 2000s. What was that like for you? You had all of a sudden thrash was popular again. It was all these legends, plus, the Haunted. I mean, when Hollow Ground came out, that song, I remember, like, all of a sudden everybody was talking about you guys. And it was really like, oh yeah, let's listen to Death Angel, Slayer, Exodus, and The Haunted. What was that like for you as a younger musician at the time?
Mind blowing. I even remember, now that I become friends with many of these guys in these bands, and like Slayer, I'm a good friend of Kerry King's. And I know that, and he's told me, and I've also read that he got the question back in 2001 or something too, like, who are the new Slayer?
Yeah.
He said The Haunted, and I was like, I can't believe that. It's crazy. But yeah, honored, and it's your dream when you grow up. You sit in your your room back home with your parents, and you're listening to all these albums with your headphones on, and you're trying to figure them out on the guitar, and then all of a sudden hanging out and talking riffs and stuff. It's great.
It's clear that with the opening track of the new album that Venom remains a favorite. Witching Hour opens the album with quite a punch. It's a fun song, and we've seen obviously a lot of good reaction already from the fans to that. A song that will do quite well live, I'm sure.
I hope so, and it's a pretty straightforward song, and it's not too fast. So we're probably going to play that as the first song, live shows. So it's easy to get into that tempo, and it's kind of, even though it took a lot of planning and thinking to write a concept album, having that as a first song and being able to have that as a first song on in a live setting is
So here's that, because I want to go into that when this is a concept album, and you guys have always done very diverse albums. Sure, they're always in the extreme metal world, but they're still quite diverse. What is that like then for you in the writing process? Do you write a story and lyrics first and compose music to that, or do you come up with songs and then figure out where does this song fit in the story that I have?
Well, usually I write riffs and music, and then I try to make it as varied as possible. I have one of the benchmarks, I might say, of albums where, early on I was impressed by how creative and how varied it was Master of Puppets.
Right.
Because almost every song has a different kind of riffing. And like, I had never heard any, that galloping riff on Battery, and then the super down-picking and Master of Puppets, and then, Sanitarium and Damage Inc. And, every song was just different. And that's kind of been, that's how you should do it. Just try to make every riff different. Because a lot of bands, not a lot of bands, but many bands, like power metal bands, they focus more on melody. So it's not, the guitars can go digga 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 digga. No, that's fine, and then the melody does everything. But me being a thrash guitar player, I guess I focus a lot on the riffs. So I usually start with the riffs, and then I try to make the songs as varied as possible. And then I put the lyrics on there, and I try to make them as catchy as possible, because it is. I mean, Tom Araya doesn't sing as 99% of the population of Earth would say is singing, but it's catchy when he sings "Angel of Death" and that kind of stuff. So I try to arrange the vocals so there's some kind of catchiness and the rhythm and everything. And then you record everything, and then you go, okay, so this song turned out the best. We'll have that as the first song, and then we'll have these songs in that order, and then these two songs, they'll be bonus for Japan or something.
Yeah.
But now with a concept album, I had to go about it differently, and I'd say it's probably, if not 50, so maybe twice 50%, maybe it's 100% more work, so twice the effort. So I had to start with the lyrics, or kind of have some kind of rough idea, and then like in a movie there needs to be some kind of dynamics, or there's action, and then there's maybe some storytelling, or maybe some atmospheric stuff. So I tried to also put that in the storyline, and then I wanted to make music that fitted into these things. So if there's an atmospheric part, then there is an instrumental there. If there's action, a lot of action going on, then it's a faster song, and so that was one thing I needed to take into consideration. And then I also needed to make sure, because you can't record the album and say, no, this song didn't really turn out like we thought, so it's going to go to Japan. You can't cut out a song.
Yeah.
So you need to work them, a lot more to make sure that, okay, these will cut it. It'll be fine. This will be a first song, and this will be the ending. It'll be whatever you want, epic or whatever. So a lot more work this time around. So I actually started with a story, and then I wrote the music.
I listened to the album a couple of times already, and I did it with different headphones. And although Witchery, people on the surface might sometimes say like, oh, it's straightforward, blackened thrash or blackened speed, whatever, and it's pretty straightforward. But actually, if you listen with really good headphones, there's so many layers to the music, and there's so many things that you might not pick up on. And the vibe that I get with this album, and I don't know if you will agree with that or even like that, but it kind of brings me back to the Witchkrieg album, which I felt had like similar kind of like layering and a grooviness to it. Is that something that you agree with, or am I completely off here?
Well, you might.
And I will say that I love the Witchkrieg album. I mean, is that a compliment?
I put a lot of work into that album too, I remember, and I wrote that album a lot on my own as well, just like I did with this, because it was the pandemic, and we couldn't rehearse. We live in different cities and all that stuff. So I sat and wrote everything in my computer.
Yeah.
And I also did the same thing with Witchkrieg, because we were on tour all the time with The Haunted. So both those albums, I had time to sit down and just, maybe that's what, when you're rehearsing, there's always, the guitar sounds great when you just go chug chug, and then your buddy does the same thing. Rickard does the same thing on his guitar, and then you're good. This is great.
Yeah.
But maybe you're right. That I haven't thought about that, but maybe when you sit here on your own, you need to, it's just me playing. I need to flavor this more. So you might be onto something.
Now let's talk about the concept. The story follows basically the prosecution of witches a couple of centuries ago. A message that, at the end of the day, people that were prosecuted for embracing science and fact and knowledge from nature and what have you, rebellious as well, You don't have to dig too deep to see parallels of today's society as well. Is it meant like that, to be a metaphor for today's society and a commentary onto that?
A little bit, but at the same time, I don't want to be, if be thinking for yourself and everything. That might be that I'm a flat earther or something.
Yeah.
That's not what I mean about for yourself. I'm more of, it's fine if you have a religious belief and everything, but it shouldn't. There should be a separation of church and state. I don't think people old guys that wrote a book, they're not alive today. They shouldn't be allowed to influence what's happening today. If you like the laws, then keep them. If you don't like the laws, you should be able to change them. The album is supposed to be entertainment. I mean, if you want to have a political message, there's a lot better ways to do it than hide it in a horror story.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of it, I mean, we don't live on the same planet, so of course you're influenced by what you see.
We've seen you in the past do shows and tours, your two bands combined, which I'm sure was a physical nightmare for you at certain times. But when we look at what's next, what's coming for Witchery, we've seen you play Hellfest already, but what can you share with everybody watching this video, shows, tours that are being planned?
Hellfest was interesting because the other guitar player, he got COVID. So it was the first ever show where I was the only guitar. I think Richard has done a show without me. So we're on equal amount of Witchery shows now. We've both done one each alone. But we want to play shows. We're ready to play shows. The Haunted is busy with writing the next album. So Witchery could play shows anywhere. We want to play. And you're from Canada, right?
I am. Well, originally from Belgium, but I live in Canada.
Yeah, Canada's always been a great place for us.
Yeah.
And I grew up in Canada, so of course we want to go back there. US and Canada would be absolutely great to go back.
Well, we'd love to have you come over, and we'll be on the front row enjoying the new songs with a mix of older songs as well. Because obviously you've got 25 years of Witchery to celebrate. Maybe that is the I don't want to make you feel old right now, but is there? I know that you have to focus on the new album right now, and that's great because it's a fantastic album. And I don't say that to everybody I interview, I promise you that. Looking ahead for a few more years, as my final question, are you at an age where you start to look back and appreciate legacy, and are you planning 30 years of Witchery that has to be celebrated in a special way?
I kind of live in the moment when it comes to music. I do sometimes put on, especially when we have shows and I need to rehearse the songs, I put them on and I notice how the volume gets louder and louder. I just keep turning it up. Wow, this is great. So I can appreciate our stuff, our music. But as a musician, I like to look forward. And I mean, yes, the new album is out in 2 weeks or maybe 3 weeks or something, but I already have a lot because it took so much effort to write this album. I have a lot of extra material that I already have enough fast songs or whatever, so I have a lot for free for the next album. So there's going to be a new album pretty soon anyway, so I'd like to look forward.
Awesome. Well, Jensen, I hope that that means that I get to talk to you again soon. Hopefully first for some shows, and then for a new album coming our way, and then maybe a special 30-year anniversary.
Yes.
Jensen, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. Love the new album. Like I said, it reminds me of Witchkrieg a bit, then that's the album I think that I really got into Witchery all those years ago now. And I can't wait for you guys to come over to Canada and the US to play. It will be fantastic. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
You are awesome for watching this video. Click right here to see more content like it and subscribe to the channel.